Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial. My name is Attempster. Today I'm going to be going over part 12 in the Project FPS tutorial series. So in the last part we went ahead and we covered the recoil for both weapons as well as an ammo count. So if we press P here and we equip the secondary weapon, you can see we can shoot like so, and the ammo count on the top left hand corner goes down for the Glock ammo. Then for the primary weapon here we can do the same. If we shoot, the ammo count goes down, and also we have a small recoil animation play. So if you haven't already, go ahead and watch part 12 so you can get all that stuff sorted out. But apart from that, I'll be getting straight on into this tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll first of all show the problem. Basically, when we press P and we select the first weapon, the primary, and we shoot, you can see that the recoil is a little bit random. Some of it is doing the full animation, some of it's only doing half the animation, and yeah, it doesn't seem very proper. Seems like there's something wrong with it. So what I'm going to do is go over to the player rig, so make sure you have the player rig selected in this window, then go down to the action for M24 recoil, and we will turn on continue and change this to loop end. So now if we bring this down again and we press P and go to the primary weapon, there we go, and as you can see that is way more responsive and also it looks a lot better. So anyway, that was a really small fix. That obviously wasn't the whole tutorial. What we're going to be doing in this tutorial is doing the muzzle flare and the smoke and sort of stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead to layer 3, and this is where I'm going to store all of my muzzle flares and the smoke elements. So I'm going to do cursor to center. So down in the video description below is a link to another YouTube video. Basically, this person has made a free muzzle flare giveaway, which has, I think, 50 different muzzle flare objects in it. So down in the description of that video is a download link. So if you want to go ahead and get muzzle flares, which you don't already have, then feel free to do so. As you can see, I have opened the file here. This is basically all the different muzzle flares in it. So there's assault rifle, minigun, just normal muzzle flash, pistol, and sparks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select all of these here, and then I'm going to do extract to, and then I'm going to go along to my desktop, and on my desktop I have a folder for Project FPS. Then I'm going to select the folder, I'm going to make a new folder within that. So I'm going to call this muzzle flare, enter, then I'll select that, click OK, and just extract everything into it. If you don't have WinRAR, then I'm sure you can just do that with the normal Windows editor. So now within our folder here, you can see we have a whole bunch of different files. So what we want is the front and back. So you can have a look through these, and if you like the look of any of them, then you might want to consider using them. So I'm just quickly going to try and remember which ones I used. Not those. I think it was these ones here. So if you want to go ahead and use the same ones that I did, feel free to do so. It's not going to make much of a difference considering it's only appearing for one frame. But yeah, again, you might want to have a look through all of the different ones here to just see which ones you like best. So for my game, what I did is I think I used the first 6 different ones, so from frame 0 to 5. And then with those, what I did is I just dragged them out, say on the desktop or something. Then we can go back here, delete everything else because we don't need it anymore. Alright, and then now we can drag our actual muzzle flare files in. So we're going to be using GIMP to edit each of these different images. So if you want to go ahead and use that, feel free. Otherwise, if you have Photoshop or something else, that should be completely fine. Basically, what we want to do is open up our muzzle flare. So for example, the first one here, we'll just import that in like so. Then what we want to do is get the selection tool, grab something like that, then we might want to change the selection slightly. Make sure you have all of it in, but at the same time try to keep it as small as possible. So I think that is all of the texture. Then what I'm going to do is go to image, crop to selection, and you'll notice there's almost half of the image is gone, which is great because it saves us memory for the graphics card. But then what we're going to do is go under File and go Overwrite Image 00. So we'll do that, and then we can close that one there. Then go back into GIMP, go to File, Open, and we'll do the next one here. So this one over here, and then select a random portion, well not random, around the muzzle flare, just so we get the most of it in, like so, and move that one up, maybe down a bit. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Then we'll go to crop to selection, go to File and Overwrite. Alright, so there is the last one done. Now one more thing we're going to do is go back to our images, which now we can go through recent, and we're going to be adding a background to each of them. So for this one here, we're going to go new layer, and we'll choose white. Just put that in there like so, drag that underneath, and there we go, done. So now we can overwrite that again, and we'll do the same for all the other ones. So there we go, that should be GIMP finished, so we can close all of those, go back into Blender, and then now what we can do here is go ahead and add a plane, and we're going to just sort of move this across. I'm going to call this M24 underscore flare 1, like so. Then I'm going to go over here, new material, turn off specular, oh, there we go. And move this up a bit, turn on shadeless. Then over here we'll go to add, and then keep scrolling down, transparency, alpha to nothing, physics set to no collision. Then we'll go over to the texture tab, new, and we'll go to image or movie, UV, and then in here we'll open up our first texture. So we'll go along to project FPS, muzzle flare, and the first one. Then in here we'll go to texture view, press tab, U, and unwrap, and there we go. There is our first texture added in. So if you want to, you can go into GIMP and sort of rub out all those parts, or just get rid of them so the image can be smaller. Alternatively, if you don't really mind the clipping, what you can also do is just press S in here. Then I'm going to press tab to go into edit mode, press R, Y, and 90. Then I'm going to press RX, give it a bit of rotation. Alright, and then Shift D, G, Y, and move it over. Now you can see why in the material settings we chose add, because if you go over to add textures together, the light actually adds together and makes it twice as bright. Which is a little bit more realistic than for the original version, which I just used opaque for, which didn't really work that well. So add is definitely the way to go for lighting elements. But otherwise, I'm going to go in here, RX, rotate it a bit more, and then I'm going to go scroll up the top, click the number 2 to make a new material, go over to the texture tab, number 2 again. Then I'm going to get rid of that, open up a new one, go over to muzzle flare, and we'll choose the next one, which is this one here. Alright, so that one's looking pretty cool. So we'll select it from down there, make this bigger, and somehow that should be fun. Alright, so I'm happy with that one. then Shift D, GY, move it across again. Oh, we didn't rename it, so this one here is going to be Muzzle Flare 2. This one here will be Muzzle Flare 3. And then this one over here, we'll choose the number 2 again. Scroll down, then we'll go to the Texture tab, number 2 again. Close that off. So then we'll open up the texture for this one. Go ahead to Muzzle Flare, and we'll choose number 2, this one here. And then we'll press tab to go into edit mode, go over here, select the right one, move it across and scale it a bit. Maybe we want to rotate it, something like that. Okay, so I'm happy with all of those. Now what we're going to do is do the same, but for the Glock. So these will be smaller muzzle flares. So to do that, we're going to select all 3, Shift D to duplicate, GX, and we'll move them over here. So this one here is going to be Glock Flare 1. Oh, I think I spelled that wrong. Glock Flare 1, and we'll get rid of the .001. Then the next one, Glock Flare 2. And the last one here. Alright, so now we have all of those. What we have to do though is select all of them and scale them down. So they're a lot smaller, as the gun for the Glock is obviously a lot smaller as well. So then what I'm going to do is select this one here, go over to the Material tab, press the 2, go to the Textures, 2 again, get rid of that, open up, go to the Muzzle Flare, and we'll choose the last 3. So this one here. Press tab to go into edit mode, then we'll select it from down here, number 3, move it across accordingly, and something like that looks good. Alright, that one's fine. This one here, we have to change, so go over there, number 2 here, get rid of that, and go over to Muzzle Flare, choose number 4, open that up, then we'll press tab to go into edit mode, select number 4, and this one is a little bit trickier to work with, but something like that should be fine. Alright, and the last one, we're going to go and number 2 here as well, get rid of that, go ahead to the Muzzle Flare, and choose the last one here. Alright, so we'll choose it from down here, number 5, scale it a little bit. Alright, something like that. Okay, and there we go. So we have all our different muzzle flares that we are going to use. Now also what we'll be having is some smoke that will be added in every time we shoot. So to do that, I have made a smoke texture. There'll be a link down in the description below. So if you want to go ahead and download it, go ahead and do so. But otherwise, if you have your own, feel free to use that as well. So again, I'm going to select one of these. Press Shift D to duplicate, GY, move it over here. Then I'm going to rename this to M24_smoke. And then I'm going to go to the material settings, click the 2. And this time I'm going to choose opaque. Shadeless here will turn off. So there is shading applied to the smoke. Then we'll go over to the texture tab and we'll press the 2 here. Then we'll scroll down a bit. Get rid of that and open up the smoke texture. If you've opened it up, it should look something like that. In this window, what we're going to do is scroll down and check alpha. Then in here, tab to go into edit mode. We will select smoke from down here, if we can find it, smoke texture. S to scale, and actually just in this window, U and reset. Then I'm also going to try rotate this back to the start roughly. So something like that, and then what I'm going to do is press numpad 3, straighten it up a bit, and then I'm going to move it across so that the yellow dot here is around the side. Then for the Glock smoke, we'll just duplicate it, move it over here, then we'll move the yellow dot somewhere else, for example there, make it smaller of course, and move it down. Also what I'm going to do is for the alpha of this, I'm going to turn it down to 0.7. so we can see through stuff here. Maybe we'll check it. Yep, so somehow that is fine. Then what I'm also going to do is go back in the material settings and scroll down, and under shadow here we're going to, well, turn off receive and turn off any casting, so it doesn't cast any shadows, and that will apply for both. We should probably do this for all of them over here. So I think if they're on shadeless, it doesn't really matter, but we'll just turn it off just in case. So do it for these muzzle flares here. That one there, that one there. Alright, and then the last one here. Turn it off for all of those. Cool, so now that is finished. So one thing we need is for the smoke here, we need that to constantly move in a direction, because we don't want that to just stay still. So what I'm going to do is go add an always, we'll add a motion, and we'll just say 0.03 on the local Z. So somehow that is fine. Then might actually want to move it up if it's going that direction. Then for this back one here, I'll do the same. I need to rename this Glock underscore smoke. And then here, add an always. Over here, add a motion. And then here, 0.03. Might do 0.01 here as well. And then, negative 0.01 here. This is just to add some sort of randomness to it. Alright, so that is fine. I'm also going to add a scaling animation to make it look a little bit nicer. So we're going to go ahead down here to the timeline. So the scaling animations won't be more than 10 frames long. So down here in the timeline, I'm going to do end frame 10. And then I'm going to start this off by scaling it down, making it really small. So somehow that's... Now before we insert any keyframes, down here location rotation is still turned on. So get rid of that. Then in here, and insert scaling. Then we'll go ahead to frame 10, make it nice and big, and SY, and SZ, somehow that. I might move it across here. Alright, so somehow that. Then I'll press I and insert scaling. So now we can go from frame 0, and you can sort of see what effect that has. As you'll notice, the yellow dot is at the top. The reason for that is the animation plays from that direction, and because it's traveling that way, they sort of cancel each other out. Then also, before I continue, one more thing I'm going to do is go over to the texture settings and turn off color. So for both of the smoke objects, we will turn off shadeless, so they receive some lighting. And then what we're going to do is go over to the object color. So go to the materials, turn on object color, go over to the object color here, go to frame 0, and we will turn the alpha to nothing, insert a keyframe, go to frame 2 or 3, let's just say 2, alpha to full, insert keyframe, and at 10 we want it to be invisible again. Alright, and this one here, maybe we can make it a little bit grey. Replace the keyframe. Then over here we'll add our action, join that in there, and this is going to be smoke, M24 smoke. So this one here, and then it will start at frame 0 and at frame 10. Alright, and so we'll press P, and there you go, you can see what that does. I think that is a little bit too far, so I'm going to scale this in on frame 10. Somehow that should be good though. Alright, so this one over here, it's traveling in that direction, so I'm going to move the yellow dot, or the origin, back a bit. Then I'm going to press numpad 3, go to frame 0, and make it really small. I insert scaling, frame 10, S make it really big, and stretch it out a bit. I insert scaling again. Then we'll do the object color thing as well, so make sure object color is selected, go to frame 0, no alpha, insert keyframe, frame 2, full alpha, and we also want to make it a little bit gray, so insert keyframe there, and on frame 10, invisible again. Alright, so that should be both of those done. We'll add our action here, join that in, Glock smoke action right here, and end at frame 10 here. And I think that should be it. So now we'll press P, and you can see the small animations for it. For this one as well, I might press SY and just bring it down a little bit. Alright, those are both of those done, which is great. Now what we need to do is make sure all the physics for all of them are turned off. So they're all on no collision, which is good. Alright, and so now we'll go over to layer 2, where our guns are, and then I'm going to press Shift A and add myself a empty. Now this here is going to be the muzzle flare spawn, so I'm going to type in M24 flare spawn. Alright, and then we'll press numpad 7, and we're going to move it to the front of the M24 here. So then I'm going to select the empty here, move it roughly to the front, like so. Okay, and then what we're going to do is move it up, like that, make it smaller, so it's a bit more fitting with the size. Right, so something like that should be fine. Then I'm going to hold down Shift, select the main body of the gun, and press Ctrl P and parent. So now that should be connected, like so, and they should all move together. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select our spawn here, the flare spawn, and in the message we want to put what we put on the shooting mechanism. So over here we have shoot.py, so over here go to text editor. So in the text editor here we have a shoot.py script, and as you'll notice, when we shoot it sends out the message M24 shoot. So that is the message we want to detect. So in here I'm going to type in M24 shoot, exactly like it is over there. Then we'll add a and actually we will change that to a Python. And in here we will plug in our muzzle flare script. So I'm going to join that up like so. I'm also going to add an always and a motion on this side. And then I'm going to be constantly spinning on the x-axis. So just crank that up to something. Basically the reason is so that when we are shooting, the smoke on this layer will get shot off at random angles, and also the muzzle flare will constantly be changing, which is sort of what we want. So I'm going to set that up like so. Then in the Python script here, we're going to make a new script. We're going to call this m24 flare.py. Then up the top here, import BGE, cont is equal to bge.logic, I cannot spell, .get current controller, closing round brackets, own is equal to cont.owner. We also, up the top here, need to import in random, and then we're going to go further down a couple lines. This I'm going to call shoot, and then we'll import that in over here. So shoot is equal to cont.sensors, and exactly how we spelt it in the top there. Alright, so fshoot.positive. Then in here I'm going to type in muzzle flare is equal to random.randint. Int, there we go. And then in here I'm going to do the starting value, which is going to be 1, and the last one is 3, because we only have 3 variations to pick from. Alright, and then I'm going to press enter, go to the next line. If muzzle flare is equal to 1, then we want to spawn in muzzle flare 1. So scene.add objects, and before we go any further we need to import in scene. So scene is equal to bg.logic.get current scene. Alright, scene.add object, and in here we want to select one of these 3 here. So muzzle flare 1, 2 or 3. So I'm going to do quotation marks m24 underscore flare 1, and then in here I'm going to do own, and then another comma. The lifetime I'm going to have very short, so only 1. Then I'll do a closing round bracket. Next line, press delete 4 times. If muzzle flare is equal to 2 scene.add object, and then we'll do the next one. So m24 underscore flare 2 own, and then again just one. The last one here, actually we can probably just copy and paste it. Alright, there we go. This one will be 3 and muzzle flare 3. Alright, so I think that should be it. We also want to be adding in our smoke, so then also what we want to do is just underneath that, without an if statement, we just want to put scene.add object smoke. What's it called? Smoke, m24 smoke. So m24 underscore smoke, then a comma, own, and the smoke we want to last longer, so enough to play the whole animation, so 10. And then, oh, accidentally pressed enter, closing round brackets, and that should be about it. So we'll go ahead and see if that works. So on this layer, I'm going to, I guess, just select this. In here we have to put our script in first, so m24 flare. Then in here we're going to go ahead and add a keyboard. Let's just make this Z or something, a key that we're not going to use. And then when we do that, we'll send a message called m24 shoot. So m24 shoot. Alright, so that should be fine. Now we'll, in this window here, we'll press P, Z, and there we go. We have something appearing. We'll go over into text review, see if it's the right one. And we have our smoke and some muzzle flare occasionally appearing as well, which is good. There we go. That looks awesome. So now what we have to do is press Ctrl A, apply scale. No, that didn't fix it. So over in layer 3 here, we're going to go ahead and have to scale all of these down. So I'm going to select all of them, S to scale, roughly something like that. Then my smoke here, I'm going to go along to frame 0, make it even smaller, iron insert scaling, and oh, I think that was the wrong one. Doesn't matter, they can both be small. Frame 0, make that one really small, I insert scaling, frame 10, that one was way too big, so maybe something like that. I insert scaling again, texture mode, and somehow that should be good now. So if we go into this layer, press P, there we go. Somehow that is looking good. There we go. It might still be a little bit big for your liking, so again, we can go back here and tune them all down a little bit. The smoke here, we might also just turn it down a notch. This one definitely. Layer 2. Alright, P, and there we go. That's looking a little bit better. If you want to add a bit more, I don't know, maybe change the rotation here a bit, so it's a bit more random. Maybe increase it. This is just for the smoke coming out the sides. So there we go, that is that one working right there. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and select the Glock here. Oh. Now what I'm going to do is select the Glock, move it across, and make another spawner for the Glock. So numpad 7 to go into top view, Shift D to duplicate, Alt P, get rid of the parent, move it to the front, and then hold down Shift, select the main body, Control P and parent. Right, and I'm going to move this up so it's in the gun. Then in here we want the message to change, so I'm going to go ahead to shoot, and it's Glock shoot. So in here we'll change this to Glock shoot. Glock shoot, there we go. Minimize that, and we want a different script to run. So in here I'm going to type in Glock flare.py. Number 3, I think these are Glock flares back here, and they are all way too big, so I'm going to scale them down already before we do anything else. Then what I'm going to do is go ahead to layer 2. We're going to select our flare spawn, which we need to rename Glock flare spawn. Then over here we're going to select the Glock flare, and in here we're going to go to M24 flare, Control C to copy, and then we'll go to the, oh, not that one, the one above it, there we go. Control V to paste. And in here we again need a sensor, which we have here for Glock shoot, so that's all fine. Muzzle flare, yep, that should be good. We want to change these to Glock flare 1, Glock flare 2, and Glock flare 3. Alright. And this one as well to Glock smoke. So if we go to layer 3, yep, it's called that. So you just have to make sure the names are the same, otherwise some of them might not appear. Alright, so also we're going to be setting this one to spin, possibly in another direction, so negative or something. And then the message we want to send here is Glock shoot. Alright, and we'll do this with a different key. And I think that should be it, so press P. Alright, so I think that is good. Smoke is a little bit big, so we're going to go ahead to layer 2, 3 actually, and we're going to scale this down a bit, so frame 10, I insert scaling, go back over to frame 2, and just sort of make sure that is a good size. So there is that one there. And this one here is a little bit better. I think the movement is a little bit fast for this one, so we'll turn that down to, not that, we'll turn it down to 0.02. And then this one here, 0.005. We'll go over here, press P. Oh, there we go. This one here. And I think that is looking a little bit sort of better, especially in proportion to the muzzle flare. Again, if that's a little bit much for you, you might want to scale these down even further. And there we go, somehow that might be a little bit better. Obviously that also means we'll have to tweak this again. But apart from that, I reckon, yeah, somehow that should be good. You'll notice that the sort of dust comes forward, and that is because of the Glock smoke, the motion here. So that's right here. So we're going to put that into negative. So it's going in the opposite direction. So I'll give that a try now. Again, I'm going to turn down the movement to 0.01 on the Z. And there we go. I'm a bit more happy with that. Alright, cool. So that is that done. Now, if everything's working correctly, we should be able to go into this view, press P, get out our weapon, and there we go. We have muzzle flare, which is looking pretty cool. That one texture that we have, this one over here, I think it's this one? Yeah, this one here. It didn't work out quite so well, so if you want to instead, you can go ahead and just select another material. Maybe this one over here. They are a little bit low, so I'm going to again go back here and just move them up a bit higher. So I'm going to move it up just a little bit more, scale it down, and yeah, somehow that hopefully should solve the problem. We'll try that out, and there we go, that's looking a little bit better for me. Cool, so I am happy with all of that. If you want to, you can make the smoke fade out faster, but we'll just quickly try out the primary weapon, this one here. So there we go, that is looking a little bit too big for me. So we're going to go ahead to layer 3, we'll select all of these, and we're going to move them, we'll make them smaller. Also this is going to be smaller as well. I insert scaling. Also I'm going to go ahead and move the empty here, I'm going to move that up just like with the last one. On the flare spawn here, maybe just increase that, rotation. And yeah, oh there we go, primary weapon. So the muzzle flare is fine, but the smoke itself is just a little bit too far out. So what we're going to do is go over to layer 3 and turn this down to 0.02 for the movement. Alright, try that again. Go to 1. Okay, and I'm a little bit more happy with that. Alright, so I am happy with that. If you want to, you can still go ahead and tweak all of these settings. But again, that's up to you. That sort of tweaking stuff can take quite a while, but the more time you spend on it, the better it's going to look. So anyway, that is the end of this tutorial. Either way, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, or share. All of that stuff is greatly appreciated. If you have any problems, there should be a finished.blend down in the description below. So if you want to go ahead and check out what you did wrong, yeah, feel free to do that as well. So, yeah, muzzle flare done, which is great. Next tutorial, we're going to be doing the cartridges coming out the side, so spitting out the side of the gun for both the primary and the secondary weapon as well. So, stay tuned for that, but apart from that, that'll be it for this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it, have an awesome week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.